What's up? It's Bells. We're gonna talk about Taylor Swift. I love Taylor Swift, and I hope Taylor Swift loves me back. Like, if I could listen to any artist for the rest of my life and I only had to listen to one, I would listen to Taylor Swift. In honor of Taylor Swift's new album, I wanted to create a whole list of book recommendations based off of all of the songs on her new album, which means we have like 30 recommendations to go through. So I'm gonna try to keep them pretty quick so you're not sitting here for like an hour. Let's bring on the book, shall we? Alright, so the album starts off with State of Grace. She's talking about busy streets, busy lives, never saw you coming. The book that I thought fit this the most was Anxious People by Friedrich Bachmann. A bunch of strangers go real estate shopping and all show up in this apartment, and a man takes them all hostage, and they're all kind of looking for some sort of rescue or friendship in some way, shape, or form. I just thought it was really fitting for State of Grace because it is really sweet, and it's very like, your mistakes don't make you a bad person, but people can help you change and be better. It was really like the busy streets, busy lives line that really got me, because Anxious People kind of put a bunch of people with really busy lives who never would have met or bonded in the first place. They kind of just threw them all into a room together and locked them in there. It was a very poignant book, so it made me laugh, it made me cry, which I do feel like is Taylor Swift's albums as a whole. She has that lovely way of making you smile at one line and tear up at the next one. She's talking about how passionate their love was. Loving him was red, it was burning red. And so the perfect book to me for this one was Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. Because first of all, Jamie has beautiful red hair, but also like their relationship is so spicy. If you don't know the story of Outlander, this woman, Claire, accidentally goes back in time to the 1700s in Scotland and meets Jamie and falls in love with him while she's trying to escape back to her own time. And there's like 9 books now. Diana Gabaldon's releasing the new one like this week, I think. So the story's still going. It's a very long series if that's something you're interested in. It's basically the story of how Claire and Jamie keep getting ripped apart and put back together, and it's just like such a steamy, passionate love for them, and that just was perfect for this song. That's exactly what she's talking about. And maybe it's not the best person that she could be with, but it's that version of love. So Outlander, go read the whole series. I much prefer the later books in the series as opposed to the first one, but you kind of need the first one for the exposition. So yes, so the next one is Treacherous. There's the lines, I'd be smart to walk away, but you're quicksand. I can't decide if it's a choice being swept away. Treacherous, and I like it. You know that this person might not be good for you and probably isn't good for you in the long run and will probably break your heart, but you go after them anyways. And so I actually picked the book that I'm currently reading right now, but it's a very old, loved copy, as you can see. This is Poison Study by Maria V. Snyder, which is a great fantasy about this girl. She's an orphan, and she basically kills her, like, quote-unquote father's only actual son. She murders him, she goes to prison, and then she is pulled out of prison and offered the job as the commander's food taster. And through this process, she winds up falling for the commander's like right-hand man / assassin, spy. I thought that was perfect because it's treacherous being a food taster, testing for poison all day, every day. You never know when you're going to die. She falls for Valak. I mean, he's a spy. He's an assassin. He's not exactly the best person to fall in love with. And I just think Yelena constantly makes choices that are very treacherous to her own well-being and to her life. And so I picked Poison Study for this one. So the next one is I Knew You Were Trouble. He's long gone when he's next to me. A new notch in your belt is all I'll ever be. So this is like betrayal, right? Like you fell in love with someone and they betrayed you. This might be a little bit of a weird pick for it. I digress. But honestly, it has the absolute best romantic betrayal at the end of this story that I've ever experienced. It was so incredibly shocking. Wow, like it was just great. And so I would pick Little Eyes by Samantha Schweblin. This book is set in like the very near future where these essentially like Furby things are all the rage, and they have like actual cameras in their eyes. So you can either like purchase one and like this thing will like follow you around the house and just like experience life with you, or you can purchase like the Watcher license. Like you basically can control this little creature, this little Furby. The romance in it follows this one particular girl who does buy a Furby and allows someone to watch her. If you saw The Voyeurs on Amazon Prime, it's kind of similar to that vibe, but I think it has better commentary about what it's talking about. I don't know if I've ever experienced a shock like that reading a book. So it was the perfect one for this. Like, I knew you were trouble. Obviously, you're gonna buy a little creature who follows you around with like some random person around the world, like watching you all the time. That's asking for trouble, in my opinion. So for All Too Well, I picked The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I know it's long gone and that magic's not here no more. I might be okay, but I'm not fine at all. Maybe this thing was a masterpiece till you tore it all up. It's just like a devastating song. I can't listen to it without tearing up. The best book that I could think of was Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. This girl makes a deal with the devil to stay alive for however long she wants to stay alive, but she's invisible to everybody, so people don't remember her. If she like leaves the room or they go to sleep or something, like they won't remember who she is. So she spent her whole life alone, these like 300 years alone, and she meets a boy who for whatever reason remembers her. And it's like this weird back and forth, this weird like love triangle between her and between this demon devil character. I like All Too Well for it because, man, the end of this relationship just made me freaking cry. The relationship it just really suited this story to me. I just thought that the beauty of All Too Well really suited the beauty of this story. And again, the story is also about like art, creation, and what the meaning of life really is. I think All Too Well is just a really honest look at Taylor's relationship. So I wanted to pick something that felt magical. The magic's not here anymore, but is still like really sweet and wholesome. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling 22. Okay. So, Don't Hate Me for 22. This song is so much fun, and it just makes you feel so happy. Forget about the heartbreaks. We're happy, free, confused, and lonely in the best way. Like, this song is just so wholesome, so don't hate me, but this is the only one I did not pick a book for. I actually picked a movie, because the movie Someone Great with Gina Rodriguez and Brittany Snow is, like, the perfect epitome of this song. It's just, like, three girls having a good-ass time, and, like, living life and learning about life and learning about love and maybe not picking love in the end and like just enjoying their 20s is what that movie is about. And I literally couldn't think of any book that fitted better than this movie. It's so lovely and wholesome and really heartwarming, and I just wanted to pick something that was really focused on friendship and community and like that gave you that feeling of fun that the song 22 does give you. So you get a movie as well. You're welcome. If you have a recommendation for the song 22, put it down in the comments because I'd love to read it and like be able to come back and be like, yeah, this book would be perfect for that song. Every time I don't, I almost do. Oh man. Okay, so the next one is I Almost Do. It takes everything in me not to call you. I wish I could run to you. I hope you know that every time I don't, I almost do. Another of the lines is, it's probably better off this way. I actually picked Milk Fed by Melissa Broder. And I do want to give a quick content warning about eating disorders for this book. So if that's something that triggers you, this book is definitely not for you. Basically, it's about this girl who has a really bad eating disorder and she winds up dating a fat girl. And she just loves everything about her and truly finds her like so sexy. And I really loved the inclusivity of this book. I loved how just like honest and natural it felt to have this queer relationship where one girl's skinny and one girl's fat, and it like none of it felt weird. Like the weird things about it were like the actual relationship, and I just really loved that part of it. But the relationship in it doesn't end great. I don't think that's much of a spoiler. You kind of see it coming. It's more about the journey for our main girl, like kind of learning how to live with her eating disorder, but you know, still eat and be healthy and love her body. So that's really what the journey's about. They use the relationship to kind of push it forward, which I thought was really interesting. I think that it really suits I Almost Do because they both really want it to work out, but like just everything that goes on in their lives just kind of makes it so they just can't. It just doesn't work. You know, the nice thing about this song is that Taylor's kind of telling us, like, it's okay to not feel this way about someone. It's okay to remember things in a lovely way and still have it not work out. And I think that this book kind of shares the same message, honestly. They both kind of wish that they could make it work, and it just doesn't. And that's just kind of life sometimes. The next song on this album is We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together. And this song is so funny. And so I wanted a book that kind of suited that. And so I picked Skinny Dip by Carl Hiaasen. It is a comedy, but it literally starts with this man throwing his ex-wife off a boat and trying to kill her. And she spends the rest of the book basically trying to get him arrested for it. So it's a revenge story. She's clearly not going to get back together with this guy who literally tried to murder her. This book is so fucking funny. And I just felt like this song just like needed that kind of energy. So if you're looking for a really fun, like, detective cop revenge story, this one was super fun. So the next song is Stay, Stay, Stay. This song is also really fun and really funny, and it immediately reminded me of their relationship in Beach Read by Emily Henry. So the song is like, you know, this morning I said we should talk about it because I read you should never leave a fight unresolved. That's when you came in wearing a football helmet and say, okay, let's talk. Like, it's just so sweet and cute and fun, and Beach Read, their relationship is just like that. These two characters are both authors. The gal is like going to this small town to try to like write a book and deal with her father's death. They went to university together, so they already know each other and are kind of like rivals. So it's like a fun little enemies to lovers trope. We love it. Their relationship is just so fun and cute, and their banter is really great. This song just made me think about it. This is the last time I'm asking you that. The next song is The Last Time. This song's so sad. This one also makes me cry every time I listen to it. This is the last time I'm asking you this. Put my name at the top of your list. Just like all those times before, you wear your best apology, but I was there to watch you leave. It's so sad. For this one, I picked Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami because the relationship between the two leads is kind of like that. Toru, who is our protagonist, he isn't the best guy. He's just not the best person. He's young and kind of in love and doesn't really know what to do about it. And Naoko, who is one of his love interests throughout the book, and his primary love interest, they kind of love each other because they were both connected to their mutual best friend who died a few years earlier. So their relationship is kind of fraught with a lot of baggage, a lot of grief, a lot of like that young just trying to figure out what life is about. And honestly, neither of them are ready for a relationship with each other. It's really sad to watch the story because you really want it to work, but you kind of know the whole time that it's just not going to. It's a story about mental health. There's a content warning of suicide for this book, so just keep that in mind. This song is like slow and somber, and again, it's like a relationship that would be really lovely if it had worked out, but just doesn't. So that's my sad pick for that sad song. We stood was holy ground. So our next song on the album is Holy Ground. And it was like right there where we stood was holy ground. For the first time in my life, I had something to lose. The whole chorus is like, I'm gonna dance. The line, for the first time I had something to lose, was really the one that got me. And I wanted a relationship that felt magical, that felt like the first real thing in these people's lives. And so I picked Night Circus. The Night Circus is about this magical circus that just kind of like shows up out of nowhere and becomes like a huge phenomenon in this time. It's basically like the battleground for these two magicians. And the two magicians fall in love. And it's so adorable, and I just wanted to pick something that was full of fantasy and magic and dancing. Their like big scene happens at a ball while they're dancing. It just felt like if there was a movie made out of this book, like this song would be in the movie. You know what I mean? The next song is Sad, Beautiful, Tragic. It's a sad, beautiful, tragic love affair, handwritten notes. It felt very like old world romance. And so I actually picked the book that I just finished, which was Mysteries of Udolpho by Anne Radcliffe for this one. It's considered one of the most, if not the most famous Gothic romances. And it was written in the 1700s, and the thesis of the book is literally just men kind of suck, and it's really hard to be a woman in the 18th century, which I thought was really funny. It was like an accidental feminist read for me. But I picked it for this song because poor Emily, who is our main character, her relationship with Valancourt, who's like her lover throughout this, or she wants him to be, is so sad, beautiful, and tragic. Like, that's the best way you can describe it. They exchange a lot of notes, there's a lot of miscommunication that happens, and Emily herself goes through, like, a lot. Her parents die, she ends up imprisoned in a castle, fighting off, like, 3 different unwanted suitors who truly are, like, the worst characters ever written, along with a villain who's, like, literally just trying to sell her off. So poor Emily has been through a lot. The relationship with Valancourt kind of like sustains her throughout the book. You really feel for this relationship. You really feel for them. And it's absolutely devastating when you find out that like Valancourt isn't who you thought he was. I wanted to pick something like historical and old world feeling for this song, for this story. And so that was why I picked Mysteries of Udolpho. The next one on this song should be very self-explanatory. It's The Lucky One, which is about going to Hollywood and, you know, you're the lucky one and then maybe you're not lucky because of it. So obviously I had to pick the most iconic book that came out this year or last year about a star, and that would be Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Because Evelyn Hugo is a Hollywood star who is finally sharing her life story, and I just thought that was the perfect pick for this, and the book is great, and if you want to read a lovely story and want to cry a lot and want to read about Hollywood and actors, just go read it. I have nothing else to say. It suits the song literally perfectly. There is no other option for this one.
Everything has changed.
The next song on her album is Everything Has Changed with Ed Sheeran. Once you've seen this person, everything has changed. Once you've met this person, once you have experienced this person in all of their lovely human glory, your life will never be the same. I just want to know you better, things like that. And so because of that, I picked Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. This is a really fun fantasy. It is probably my favorite book of all time. The romance part of it is this princess goes to the capital city of Halandran to be like the new wife of the god king. I like can't share why this song is so perfect because it's a huge spoiler. I can't do that to you guys because I like you guys. There's a communication block, essentially. There's a communication block between these two characters where she literally can't learn anything about them. And there's a lot of political intrigue and there's some other really, really beautiful characters in it. Please go read this book. It's so fucking good. And I think it really suits this song really well because everything has changed for every character in this book. That moment of that princess meeting the king, for real, changes everything. It's a huge, significant plot point in this world. Yeah, go read this book.
Dancing, like we're made of starlight.
The next song on this list is Starlight, and I couldn't not recommend Stardust by Neil Gaiman, because we're Starlight, I mean, she's literally a star. The main love interest is literally just a star. So I could not recommend Stardust for this one. It follows a boy who promises to bring back a fallen star to the woman he thinks he loves. He breaks into the fairy world, goes on an adventure, meets the star, tries to bring her back. Romantic chaos and fun and adventure ensue. The villain is horrifying and is great. If you want to read a romance about a literal star, that's this one. It's an adult fairy tale and it's great.
I watched it begin again.
The next song is Begin Again, which is basically just Taylor walking into a new relationship and realizing that not everyone is as shitty as her last partner and that it's okay for things to start again. It's okay for things to end and to find someone who's really your person. I immediately thought of this book, and that is Safe Haven by Nicholas Sparks. Specifically because out of all of Nicholas Sparks' stories, in this one, they put a sex scene in the movie, but there's not even a sex scene in the book. Like, the two characters, like, literally just kiss. And so it's this girl who's running away from an abusive relationship. She escapes this, like, super small town where nobody knows her, and she starts falling for this, like, really sweet guy with his kids. and allows him to help her move past all of her trauma, and she gets to experience love again. It's a really beautiful story. I really like reading romances that aren't sex heavy. And I like reading ones that are sex heavy too, like Outlander was on this list. But there's a balance to be found, and I think that not every story needs that to have that emotional impact. And I think that's something really beautiful about Safe Haven, is that it doesn't need any of that. To know that these two people love each other and are there for each other, and yeah, it's just really gorgeous and really wholesome. There is obviously content warning with domestic abuse. It was like the perfect pick for this song. It just immediately made me think of that relationship.
That was the moment I knew.
The next song is The Moment I Knew. It's about her partner at the time, who we all think is Jake Gyllenhaal. It's about her partner at the time not showing up to her 21st birthday party. You said you'd be here. What do you say when tears are streaming down your face in front of everyone you know? I wanted to take that and take like the whole idea of the moment I knew is like the moment you know that like this relationship is not moving forward. So what I picked was The Reading List by Sarah Nisha Adams. And I picked it because the two lead characters are both dealing with a lot of grief. Mukesh is an older gentleman whose wife died 2 years ago, and he hasn't been a part of his community at all. And so it's his journey of like branching out and trying to connect with the people around him. The other main character is Alicia, who's a 17-year-old girl who works at a library. Her mom has some serious mental health issues, and her brother has been there to kind of like help and guide their way through, but that's also like really grief heavy and really hard for her. And both of these two characters have significant turning points. That is why I picked this book for this song. A content warning of suicide for this book. This book is really sweet and really lovely and really focuses on the relationships between friends and communities and books. Of course, that's why we're here. We love books. This song made me think mostly of Alicia's story, but I think it also applies to Mukesh. It's a lovely book, and it's super sweet and super wholesome. It does have that moment in it.
Come back, be here. Come back.
Next is Come Back, Be Here. And these lines are like, how strange that I don't know you at all. I told myself don't get attached. And like the perfect and best book for this is The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. Oh my god! If you haven't seen me like just gush about this book for like 5 minutes straight, I'll link the video up here. This is the best romance book I've ever read in my life. I don't think another book will beat this ever. Basically about this woman who is horrible at dating, hates dating, and so she hires an escort to like help her learn how to enjoy sex and be good at dating. And of course they end up falling for each other, and it's just amazing. The whole thing is like she's trying not to get attached to him because she's literally paying him, and he's trying not to get attached to her because she's paying him. And there's a bunch of other stuff going on around it, but their relationship is so respectful and so like glittery. I just love it. And they both try so hard not to infringe on the other person's feelings and beliefs and boundaries are a huge part of this, and it's why I really love it, is because the boundaries and the respect between these two characters and their relationship are so solid. This was like the absolute perfect pick for this song, you know, like knowing that you like this person but you're doing everything in your power to not like them and yet you still do. Go read the book, it's so good. Okay.
Look at me, you got a girl at home and everybody knows that.
The next song is Girl at Home. You know, don't look at me, you got a girl at home and everybody knows. The book I picked for this song was not Girl at Home. That's the song. Was Ariadne by Jennifer Saint. So it's basically the retelling of the Minotaur story with Theseus, but from Princess Ariadne's perspective. The reason I picked it for this song is not because Ariadne is the one who's like, don't look at me, you got a girl at home. She's the girl at home. Because Theseus fucking sucks. He sucks. He's so shitty. He winds up going after Ariadne's sister after like a whole bunch of crazy events. And her sister is like,
Bro, you literally dated my sister. Like, what is your problem?
this one does not end great. It's a Greek tragedy. So do with that what you will. Super fantastical and mythologically funness.
Come on, baby, with me, we're gonna fly away.
The next song on the album is Ronan, which was inspired by the story of 3-year-old Ronan who died from cancer. So Taylor wrote this song. This is obviously a bit of a change from the rest of the songs on the album that are all kind of about relationships. This one's about this lovely little boy, right? I'm gonna like tear up just talking about it. And so I wanted to pick something about something really sad that happens to children. And so I picked Sold by Patricia McCormick. This is about a 13-year-old girl, Lakshmi, who is sold into human trafficking. And it's all written in like little diary entries. This will absolutely break your heart. I mean, it's about modern day sexual slavery. This isn't what happened like 200 years ago. This is now. We kind of just experience it with her. I think this one captures the feeling of wanting to take care of children in the same way. So that's this one. It's really good. It's really, really beautifully done. Done in the most appropriate way it could possibly be. Read it at your own peril. Obviously, major, major trigger warnings for that one.
I just wish you were a better man.
So the next song is Better Man. And this one, I listened to it and it reminded me of that Halsey song, I'm So Sorry. It gave me the same energy. I just miss you and I just wish you were a better man. I know the bravest thing I ever did was run. And so the book I picked for this was Outlawed by Anna North. This book is great. It's a Western, but it's got all these lovely queer characters. It's basically about this girl who gets married and can't have a kid, and in her town, barren women are hung as witches, and so she escapes, she runs away, and like joins up with this little outlaw gang full of queer and very fun personalities. It's basically like trying to create a safe haven for these outcast women. You know, her husband didn't really want to protect her. The bravest thing she ever did was run. The best thing she could do for herself, for her family, for everybody was get the hell out of there before she was fucking murdered. I think this book is really fun. It really captures like that feeling of friendship and camaraderie and that support that you do need when you leave a relationship like that. Obviously, this is like a more dramatic version of that, but I don't know, I just thought it was a fun choice for this song.
You want me when I'm nothing new.
I actually don't remember this song from when I was younger, but I really, really enjoyed it listening to it again. And the lines that really stuck out to me were like, girls go out and have your fun, and then they hunt and slay the ones who actually do. Lord, what will become of me once I've lost my novelty? And so I wanted to pick something like feminine and feminist and talking about feminine issues and women's issues. And so I picked The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow. This is basically the tale of women's suffrage in the United States, but they included witches. It's super fun. And so it's all in this parallel universe where women don't have rights because they're witches. Talks a lot about a lot of different women's issues. Honestly, the events that happen, obviously it's all like fantastical and witchy and fun, so they're not exactly historically accurate, but the actual events line up with the real events that happen in women's history very well. This is probably my favorite read of this entire year so far. I haven't found another one that I liked quite this much. Maybe other than the Kiss Quotient. I really liked the Kiss Quotient. And like slay the ones who actually do it, like they're literally trying to like kill these witches, right? The next one on this list is Babe, with lines like, this is the last time I'll ever call you babe. What about your promises? Since you admitted it, I keep picturing her lips on your neck. And I picked The Guest List by Lucy Foley for this one. I really liked this thriller because you both don't know who was murdered and you don't know who was the murderer.
Who the hell died?
It's like this wedding on a secluded island. Everyone shows up and has their secrets. All the characters have some solid secrets, some great motives. The major relationship, the one that is the since you admitted it, I will never call you babe, like the relationship that is the breaking point on this one. Man, you will never fucking guess who they cheated on this person with, and I won't tell you, but I picked this book because of that, and if you read the book, come back and tell me that you love the pick for this song, because I think it's a pretty solid pick for this one. So the next one is Message in a Bottle. I like this song a lot. I know that you like me. It's kind of frightening. I'm reaching for you, terrified because you could be the one that I love. A message in a bottle is all I can do. And so for this, I picked Untamed by Glennon Doyle. This book is a biography by Glennon Doyle about her life. After 15 years of being with her husband and having children with him, she falls in love with a woman and decides to uproot her entire life and go be with her. This is a story about a lot of things. It's not just about that, but I do think the relationship really suits the song in this case. It's a huge deal to uproot your entire family's life because you love this person. It's just so sweet and so real and raw and honest about like the world that we live in.
I bet you think about me.
I Bet You Think About Me is the next one, but you know what they say, you can't help who you fall for. I tried to fit in with your upper crust circles. Now you're out in the world searching for your soul, scared not to be hip, scared to get old, which, like, first of all, what a fucking burn. For this song, I picked Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reid, which might feel like a weird choice since it's not primarily about a relationship. It's about Amira, who is a black babysitter for this white upper crust family, and winds up having an altercation with a security officer when he believes that the white child that she's babysitting isn't hers, that she's kidnapped her, and it winds up being filmed, and it like turns into this whole thing where the white family that she works for like doesn't know how to handle it, and they go from there. I picked Such a Fun Age for this song because there's like a weird twist about halfway through the book related to the woman Alex that she works for. That relationship is really fucking bizarre, and that's the relationship that made me like want to use this song there, because Alex is definitely like trying to be cool, trying to be hip, trying not to be a racist white woman. And man, the twists in these books are fucking wild. So we have Forever Winter. All this time I didn't know you were breaking down. I wanted to pick a story that focuses on that mental health and how that impacts your relationships, romantic and otherwise, how that impacts you as a person. And so I picked Cam Girl by Elliot Wake. On the cover it'll say Leah Rader, that's a dead name. This is about a girl who gets into a really bad car accident with her best friend, friends with benefits, partner-ish, love of her life kind of a person, and is broke and desperate and can't do what she wants to do because her hand has been injured, and so she turns to camming for a source of income and winds up being really fucking good at it. She winds up meeting this particular client who wants to meet her in person. She kind of like weirdly ends up falling for them. It's about secrets, it's about mental health, it's about toxic codependent relationships. I'm not gonna lie, the relationship between the two main characters is really toxic, but I 100% understand what the author was going for. I think this book really suits this song, Forever Winter. The entire thing is a conversation about mental health and about sexuality and how those can often intersect.
And run, like you run from the law.
Our second last song is Run. Run like you run from the law, run from it all, we can go where our eyes can take us. To me, this felt like a fantasy. This felt like when you're in a relationship or you want to be in a relationship and you just want to run away with them. You don't want to think about your real life obligations. And so it's like that dream that you have about this person. So I picked River God for this one by Wilbur Smith. It's primarily from the perspective of a slave Tata, but the romance is between his lady Lostress and the general of these armies, Tanis. We're set in ancient Egypt. We've got gods and witchcraft and all the fun stuff. Lostress ends up getting married off to the pharaoh. So obviously her having an affair is cause for treason. She could die, but she is in love with Tanis anyway. I mean, the story is like a massive, long adventure saga. This is also one of my favorite books of all time. The relationship in it is a lot of fantasy. It's a lot of like, how can we make this work even though it can never happen? I wanted a book that felt like it wanted that relationship to be the forefront even though it couldn't be. But you get to really experience that with them. I highly recommend this one. I think it's fucking great. The last song is ironically The Very First Night. I drive down different roads, but they all lead back to you. My friends all say they know what I'm going through. They don't know about the night in the hotel. They don't know how much I miss you, etc. I picked The Wedding Game for this one by Megan Quinn. This is set on a fun wedding DIY reality show. Our main character Luna is like a crafting genius. She convinces her brother and his partner to go with her, and like the end results of the competition is that you like win a free wedding. So the other character, Alex Baxter, is dragged along to like reconnect with his brother. And so Alex and Luna meet, enemies to lovers right away, but the whole time, like as they start to get together, they're both kind of like hiding the relationship from their respective families because they're on a reality show. They're all competing against each other, and so that turns into like a whole thing. And you know, the very first night, like that first night that you meet someone, that you're with someone, like we never saw it coming, we're not trying to fall in love. The very first night that you're like with that person fully, that's such a magical, lovely time. And I just thought that this book really captured that feeling of wanting to keep a relationship private before you have to like share it with the whole world. There's something really beautiful about that initial like privacy that you can have in a relationship before other people's opinions kind of get in the way. I thought Wedding Game did a good job at like showing the balance between our expectations and priorities and responsibilities to our families and friends and things like that, and what we want from a partner and that feeling of love that we have and passion. I thought it balanced it really well. So that, my friends, is our final Taylor Swift recommendation. Whew! I love Taylor Swift, so this was really just an excuse for me to like listen to her music for days straight. I know that my taste isn't super romance heavy. If you have other stories that you think would fit some of these songs any better, I would love to hear them. Thank you so much for being here. I'm sure Taylor would be proud of all of us for sticking it out and enjoying her music in a different way. Of course, if you're looking for more book-related content, don't forget to check out this video here, or just go straight to my channel and maybe hit that subscribe button. And I will see you all next time.